let's bring in Stan Van Gundy of the NBC Sports Network, former NBA coach. Successful regular season, Coach, what do you think?
Well, successful second half of the season, and I don't think they've been given enough credit for that, to be quite honest, Dan. They were 28-13 over the second half of the year. The exact same record that Oklahoma City and San Antonio, I had to believe, and it may even be better. The only teams that were better in the second half of the season than the Lakers in the West were Denver and Memphis, and that was it. So this team, despite all the injuries, despite not having a training camp, despite all the problems, this team held it together, made some adjustments, and finished up very, very strong.
Sometimes you'll get a team that responds when a star goes down. That euphoria, that emotional lift doesn't carry, it doesn't last. There's an expiration date for that. That in mind, that being said, with Kobe not being there for this series against San Antonio, how much of an emotional lift can these other guys, the supporting cast, if you will, provide, and can that carry through a 7-game series?
Well, look, here's the thing. I think that Dwight Howard and Pau Gasol in particular will be very motivated to show that they still are stars in their own right. The other guys will get more opportunities. Also, Metta World Peace and Steve Blake, Steve Nash, if he plays. I think those guys will step up. They'll relish the opportunity. They'll play at a high level. What it comes down to is very simple, Dan, and you know this as well as I do. At the end of the day, without Kobe Bryant, they're probably just not good enough, not talented enough to beat the San Antonio Spurs if the Spurs are healthy. And there's a lot of question about that.
I'm looking at the Spurs, and I liken them to the Patriots because Belichick and the Patriots don't let you in. They don't say anything. There's nothing incendiary when they go to those press conferences. Same with the Spurs, and I know it's a reflection of their coach, Greg Popovich, but do you think, Popovich is not going to tell you who's hurt, who's really hurt, who's going to play, sort of play, may not play in this one. Is San Antonio ready for the long haul?
I don't know. It certainly does not seem that they are. Look, this was the best team in the league until Miami went on that great winning streak. They were the best team in the West until 2 weeks ago. But just watching them here at the end of the year, Manu Ginobili is a big question mark as to what he's going to be able to give them. Tony Parker does not look 100%. He had a tremendous regular season, but he does not look 100% at all. And then they had the first probably drama or controversy we've seen out of San Antonio in a long time, having to waive Steven Jackson late in the year and sort of get an emergency replacement in Tracy McGrady, who hasn't been with them all year. This is not the way the Spurs wanted to be going into the playoffs.
He's Stan Van Gundy, NBC Sports Network, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. I like their chances against San Antonio, obviously a little more with Kobe there. The Oklahoma City matchup I didn't like at all. Let's just say, for instance, hypothetically, if Kobe is playing, chances you would have given the Lakers against Spurs?
Oh, you know what? In the Spurs' present state, I would have probably made it 60-40 for the Spurs, but I would have given the Lakers a good chance. I think now it's probably more like 80-20 for the Spurs. But again, and you made the point, we really don't know because the Spurs don't say a lot. I don't know where Tony Parker really is. He looked a little bit better in limited minutes last night than he did against the Lakers on Sunday, but he doesn't look like the Tony Parker that we saw for most of the year. And if he's not, that's San Antonio's big advantage in this series.
Yep.
Is Tony Parker. The Lakers can certainly more than match up inside. If Tony Parker can't play really productively, the Lakers have a shot.
Let's look at some of the other matchups. What jumps out? First round matchup where you go, wow, that's something you would expect in second or third round.
Well, I don't know if I would have expected it in the second or third round, but one that I think is a lot better matchup than a normal 2-7 matchup is the Knicks and the Celtics. The Celtics had their problems down the stretch with injuries, but since Rondo has gone out, when Garnett was there after the injury, they were 16-9. Now, obviously, with Rondo and Garnett out, they really struggled, but that's a team that can play very, very well. They've got two veteran guys in Pierce or Garnett that have been through this, and they're playing against a bad defensive team in New York. A lot of the teams who are lower half of the league defensive teams, like New York are, historically they don't make long runs in the playoffs. I don't think it would be an upset if Boston beat New York. Again, that's one of those series I'd probably take it as 60-40 in favor of New York, but nothing near a major upset if the 7th seed wins that one.
Who's got more pressure on them, Kevin Durant or Carmelo Anthony?
I would say probably Kevin Durant, only because Kevin Durant's team is totally healthy and ready to go. I mean, he's got good people around him. They haven't had injuries all year. They've been the healthiest team in the league, where Carmelo Anthony is still not playing with a great supporting cast. I mean, he'll have Tyson Chandler back, but their starting perimeter is Raymond Felton, Pablo Prigioni, and Iman Shumpert. I mean, that's not what Kevin Durant has around him. I don't think Carmelo has great players around him. I don't think they're more talented than Boston is, other than Carmelo. It has to be Kevin Durant at this point.
Do the Heat warrant Chicago Bulls treatment, the Michael Jordan Bulls, that we've almost anointed them as they're going to win the championship this year, that we expect it, and it's a foregone conclusion?
Well, I don't think it is a foregone conclusion. I don't know if they want that or not, and they certainly, I don't think, totally warrant it, though. The end of the year, I mean, when you would go 37-2 in your last 39 games, that's incredible basketball. So they certainly warrant our respect. They certainly have to be the favorites. But if Oklahoma City comes out again, I expect a much better series than a year ago, based on the fact that Oklahoma City has made another big stride defensively. Plus, I'm sure they learned from that series, will do some things differently. I don't see any challenge to the Heat in the East, but I think particularly Oklahoma City in the West can give them a pretty good run in the finals.
I'll get you out on this question. If you were coaching Derrick Rose, medically cleared to play, what role would you play as the coach to getting back on the floor?
Well, that's an interesting question because he hasn't played all year. But if he's ready to go, he's been practicing with them for 2 months by all reports, going full out. I would probably go ahead and throw him in the starting lineup. With this being my thinking, Dan, they've got no chance to contend in the Eastern Conference without Derrick Rose. Their only chance. Now, they could win the Brooklyn series maybe without Derrick Rose, but they've got no chance against the Heat in the second round without him. So if I'm going to really try to make a run and contend, if he's ready to go, I throw him in there. I play him as many minutes as the medical people think he can play, and we go for it.
Yeah, but it's tough if he doesn't want to play or he feels uncomfortable.
Oh, no, if he doesn't want to play, then you don't play him at all.
Okay.
I mean, you can't force that issue. But if Derrick Rose comes to you and says, I want to play, at this point in the year, you don't bring him off the bench behind Kirk Heinrich. You go ahead and play him. But no, if he doesn't want to play, that's been the issue so far. He doesn't feel comfortable playing, then you've got to let it go. You can never force a guy out there against his will, and I'm sure Tom Thibodeau would not try to do that.
But do you think this is based on the Heat being so good, we're not going to bring him back, or because he's so good, we don't want to take a chance? If he's a lesser player or the Heat aren't as good, is Derrick Rose playing?
I don't know, because this seems to be, it's been a strange situation, and it seems to be all Derrick Rose's decision. I mean, he's been cleared since the middle of February. He's been practicing on an everyday basis. I don't think that the team or Tom Thibodeau or anybody has any reservations about him playing. For some reason, Derrick Rose doesn't feel comfortable, doesn't feel he's ready. I think it's all coming from him, and I have no idea if the strength of the Heat weighs into his decision at all.
Good to visit with you, Stan. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Stan Van Gundy, NBC Sports Network, also part of NBC Sports Radio as well.